Welcome to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen meeting for the City of Hendersonville, Tennessee. This is March 25th, 2025, known in some states as Lance Ray's birthday. It is close to 7 o'clock. We're going to begin our meetings we typically do. That's with the prayer and the pledge. Fortunately for us tonight, we have Dr. Otis Clayton, who's going to open us up in prayer. He is the chaplain for the Sumner County chapter of the Military Officers Association of America, and he's a retired Army major and chaplain and Baptist clergyman. Dr. Clayton, we appreciate you very much being here and opening us in prayer. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed members of the Board of Mayors and Aldermen and fellow citizens of Hendersonville, we've gathered here this evening in the spirit of community and shared purpose. Let us, dear God, pause to acknowledge your divine presence in the midst of our deliberations. We stand before you, dear God, as stewards and servants of this beautiful city, entrusted with the responsibility to serve our neighbors and uphold the values that unite us. In this moment of reflection, we invite your wisdom and your understanding, dear God, to illuminate our minds, our souls, and our hearts. May we approach each discussion with humility, compassion, and genuine desire for the well-being of every citizen. Grant us, dear God, the courage to tackle the challenges facing our community with integrity and grace, fostering an environment where every voice, young and old, is heard and valued. We lift the needs of all those who are vulnerable among us and ask for your guidance as we seek solutions that promote justice, peace, equality, and unity among our beloved Hendersonville. May our actions, dear God, mirror the teaching of love and service that we hold dear. May the decision made here this evening contribute to a brighter future for all. In the name of our Lord and our Master Jesus Christ, we pray, glory, hallelujah, glory, hallelujah, glory, hallelujah, amen, and amen. God bless you.
Thank you, Dr. Clayton. We very much appreciate that. So please join me for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Dr. Clayton, thank you. I need a motion to accept the agenda, please. We had a motion from Alderman Goodwin, a second from Alderman Garza. Alderman Robertson.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I would like to amend the agenda to move up under other agenda items, number 10, appointment of city judge. I would like to move that up to be considered before ordinances and resolutions.
Okay. We have a second from Alderman Bergdorf. Any discussion on that item? All those in favor of that amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you all. Any other discussion, any other motions concerning the agenda? So we've amended it once, and that was moving up item 10 under other agenda items. And we're going to consider that immediately before ordinance and resolutions. All those in favor of the agenda as amended, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Next, we have a presentation. Jason, are we ready? Pretty cool. So I'm going to let them speak first, and then I'm going to read the proclamation, but it's pretty interesting stuff.
Hello, my name is Tricia Lopez. I am with Donate Life Tennessee. I'm an external affairs coordinator, and we are thrilled to be here with you tonight and grateful for this opportunity as we go into Donate Life Month. And I would like to invite our wonderful Hendersonville area ambassadors to share their experiences with you.
Thank you, Mayor, Aldermen, and Lance, and happy birthday to Lance and Lily. Tell her I said so. I am Rayshawn Morand, and I received a double lung transplant in 2015, so I'm approaching my 10-year livingversary. I didn't mean to prompt an applause. That's silly. Feel free to look at the slides while I'm speaking, because I don't want you to miss out on any of the information shown there. We can click to the next slide. Oh, that's okay. This is a wonderful picture of my family. My husband, myself, and my daughter, who's now 21, is in the upper left. Below us is my sister, her husband, and her two beautiful children that were adopted after Courtney's lung transplant in 2011. We both have cystic fibrosis, and so our lungs eventually gave out on us, and we had to have the transplant in order to live. Luckily, there were recipients that died just in the nick of time when we both needed them, and we're forever thankful to the Lord for that. The picture in the top right is my daughter, myself, my nephew, my father, and my sister and her daughter, Hadley. While we're on this slide, I want to call out that my parents came very close, and my voice just sounded like my sister for a second. My parents came very close to losing both of their children to cystic fibrosis. So we are very grateful that neither of us suffered lung disease that took our life. My mission since our lung transplants, even hers before I received mine, is to make sure that we get more registered donors so that less people have to sit and wait and get sicker and sicker and sicker and lose hope that they could have another chance at life. This slide here is helpful to talk about how just one person, if they are a registered donor or if their family makes the decision for them to donate their organs after they endure a tragic early death, can save up to 8 lives and enhance the lives of at least 75 people through tissue and cornea donation and ligaments and all of that. There's some other statistics that are a little bit too hard to read, but we'll make sure, for me to read anyway, we'll make sure and get those out to you guys after tonight's meeting. And then next. And I've shared my story, so I'm going to hand it over to Judge Blanton to share part of his.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ron Blanton. In addition to being a resident of Hendersonville, I serve as your General Sessions Division I judge here in Sumner County. I was diagnosed with kidney disease back in 1986. I waited for a transplant for 34 years. In 2018, it kind of got to the point where I was going to have to go on dialysis. I had been on the transplant actual list for the 6 years, and they had just told me in January it was going to be bumped down. I give you that because I had kind of lost. I'm not going to be able to get a transplant. I've already been bumped down 2 times. They weren't even going to do a medical evaluation on me. And so my lovely wife kicked me to the curb and told me I was going to play senior league softball at the Hendersonville Parks Department that year. I had played ball growing up and through college. And so I went to sign up, and when I was at one of our games, at the end of the game, we always prayed. We got a new player on our team whose name was Brad McKenzie, who was a resident of Hendersonville, and he heard me ask that I needed a kidney. So you fast forward about 5 weeks on Memorial Day weekend. Brad played on a travel softball team. He contacted me on a Saturday afternoon after I got through playing golf with my kids and said, "Hey, Ron, this is Brad from softball." And I'm going, "Hey, Brad from softball, I thought y'all were playing in a tournament away. What's up?" And he goes, "My nephew, Christian, was in a real bad traffic accident, and he may not make it, and he's an organ donor. Who is your transplant surgeon, and where at?" And I'm like, "Well, I have no idea who my surgeon would be, but it's at Vanderbilt." He said, "I'll call you back." I didn't hear from him on Sunday, and I thought that was a good sign that maybe his nephew was progressing. And then I got a call on Monday, at about the same time I was in the same spot in my house when I got a call from Vanderbilt. And the lady on the other end was crying, and she goes, "Mr. Blanton, we have a kidney for you." And it was through that donation, it was a direct donation, that I got a new lease on life, where I was about to go on dialysis. I'd struggled with this disease for a long time, and I was restored. And it was totally a God thing. And one of my missions has been to be an ambassador for Donate Life in addition to my other duties, but I speak every time I can to people to open up ways where people can donate, to make people aware that they can't take it with them. And if they have a good organ, then it could be used for somebody to save their life, to give their child an opportunity to live and be productive. So I appreciate you all recognize this tonight, and for the Donate Life Month.
And my challenge to you are two things: to consider being an organ donor, and if you're not comfortable with it, ask us questions until you are comfortable with it, because that's why we're here. And another thing is to imagine if your wife or your child or your brother or sister was up, if death was imminent for them, how badly you would want there to be increased registered donors on the list to be able to potentially save your loved one's life. It's a terrible thing to watch your sister or your father, and I'm sure husband and wife, pass away early. And I don't wish that on anybody. I've experienced both in the last year. So let us know if you have any questions. Oh, and this is Christian, her daughter. Go ahead.
I'm Christian Sherba. My daughter Lucy is a liver recipient. She was a senior at Hendersonville High School in the fall of 2023. She was born with a congenital liver disease, and we always kind of knew she was going to need a liver, but she was one of those amazing kids she needed a liver because of the cirrhosis of the liver, the damage that was, she was born without a bile duct, so she didn't have the bile built up, damaged her liver. We were told that she's too healthy she was on the donor, she was going to be needing a liver, but she was too healthy for a liver, so it would have to be the perfect liver. Well, as Mr. Ron was saying, that we got a call from Vanderbilt that the perfect liver was ready for her. And as I said, her senior year, as she's doing her exams and college, everything, she had a liver transplant. So she juggled that, and she's doing great now. And we're just so, so very grateful that there was someone's family. We don't know who her donor was, but we know they were young. We know it was sudden. And we're so, so grateful to that family for that gift of life for our child so that she can now live in honor of that person. So we thank you for this.
So now I've got something for y'all. So when Tricia sent me an email, this has probably been about 2 months ago, I told her, I said, first off, I completely support what y'all do because I've long said that when I die, cut me up and spread me around. But I said, for a proclamation, we need some sort of local connection. And she said, oh, I got you a local connection. So I appreciate y'all very much. Let me read this, please. Tennessee Donor Services is a Donate Life agency, a nonprofit organization dedicated to saving and improving lives through organ, eye, and tissue donation throughout Tennessee, including Hendersonville, and is one of 56 organ procurement organizations throughout the nation. And whereas more than 100,000 Americans and 3,000 Tennesseans are waiting for life-saving organ transplants, and whereas each hero organ donor can give the gift of life to 8 people, and each tissue donor can improve another 75 lives. And whereas the most effective way to address this health crisis is to educate and encourage our community to register their decision to be an organ, eye, and tissue donor in the Donate Life Tennessee Registry, and that's where you get on that QR code right there. DonateLifeTN.org or at Driver Services Center, and learn more about living donation at DonateLife.net. And whereas saving lives through organ, eye, and tissue donation is of such immediate worthwhile importance that now therefore I, Jamie Clary, Mayor of the City of Hendersonville, do proclaim that the City of Hendersonville observes April as National Donate Life Month. I encourage all our residents to register their decision to be an organ, eye, and tissue donor in the Donate Life Registry at DonateLifeTN.org or at the local Driver Services Center. Thank you all so much for coming here and doing this for us. So, yeah. Yep. So Casey wants to get a picture of y'all. Okay. So I'm going to hand this to you.
Okay.
And there you go. So where do you want them? Okay.
Get in here with us. Absolutely. We're,
I usually get.
thank you all.
Judge.
I'm going to entertain a motion that we approve the minutes that were provided you in the packet for our March 11, 2025 meeting. We have a motion from Alderman Dixon and a second from Alderman Garza. Any discussion on that? All those in favor of approving the minutes that were provided to you, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next, we have citizen comments. We have one person signed up. Speakers must identify themselves by name and address. Public comment shall be limited to 5 minutes per person, which time is not transferable to other speakers. All comments are to be directed to the presiding officer, not to aldermen, city staff, or other members of the public. Comments must address issues, not individuals or personalities. Personal attacks shall not be tolerated. Comments may support or oppose particular measures or issues, but the motives of those with differing views shall not be questioned or attacked. Malicious comments will not be allowed. Speeches for or against particular candidates running for public office shall not be heard. Charlena Allmiller.
Hi, I'm Charlena Allmiller, and I live at 143 Ruland Circle, Hendersonville. I would like to encourage you to pass item number 8 and 9 on the resolution. One is for the secondary employment for the Hendersonville Fire Department, but I do recognize that that used to be a service that was just already included in our taxes at the parks, and ideally we would go back to that because I feel like it's a shrinkage of our services, even if we're getting the same tax, if we're getting less services for the money that we're paying. And for number 9, I would like you to pass that so then we can get some more information for TCRS for the bridge program. I also have a question about number 4, the shopping carts. I am someone who, if you run into me, I usually pick up groceries, but if you run into me in a store, sometimes I'll be having my hands all full because I did not want to get a cart. But if I do want to get a cart, I do want to get a cart. And if our grocery stores are getting charged $50, which as it reads, it could be $50 a day because it says each day is a new instance, then I don't think we're going to have shopping carts, or they're not going to have the names, or it's going to be like all these where you're going to have to pay a quarter, and I rarely ever have a quarter. And our groceries are going up enough. Like, we don't need to hassle our grocery stores, I feel like. So I'm just curious as to where this resolution came from and what the thought process was behind it, because maybe I'm missing something. And then, although I didn't recognize it in the agenda before for the organ donation, I have been an organ donor since I could make the decision. And relatively recently, it can help people who have had some pass to know that their organs saves a world. It can help with the grieving process. So please sign up. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlene. Charlene, if you want to come back later on, just raise your hand. The only item we have on consent agenda is receive and file, and this is something I pledged you all 2 weeks ago that I provide to you. When we made some amendments to the mid-year budget and we changed some numbers, instead of going through every line and changing those numbers, I told you that Jesse and staff would put those together and we'd bring those back to you. Now, what we did, what we passed gave directions to the staff, and then the staff then implemented that. So there's nothing really for us to pass, but just I obligated myself that I would provide you that information. You've got it in your packet. Next, we have the appointment of city judge. So, March of every fourth year, is that every fourth year or every second year? Every fourth year. March of every fourth year, the March after the mayor's elected, we have to, our judge's term expires. It has been Russ Edwards for 3 or so years, since the death of Curtis Lincoln. I felt like Russ had earned the honor to continue serving as our city judge. And so I am going to nominate him for that. And that, I appreciate that. Are there any other nominations? Any other discussion? All those in favor of approving Russ Edwards as our city judge for the next 4 years, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you all. Next on our agenda is first reading ordinance 2025-03. This is an ordinance amending the Hendersonville Municipal Code Title VII to adopt a revised edition of the International Fire Code. Our Director of Codes, Greg Story, is here. Feel free, as we discuss this one, to also discuss the next two. I don't have a problem with that. Really, we thought about grouping these three together, and I know that when they went through General Committee, that there are a lot of questions that sort of overlap. So I don't have a problem with that at all, but I need a motion. We have a motion from Alderman Goodwin. Second. And a second from Alderman Dixon. I would hate to waste Greg dressed up in a tie with no questions. Alderman Collins.
I'll have a question for you, Greg,
Perfect.
just so we all are aware, and because I do need a little clarity on this. How is it going to work if your business is impacted by a storm or a fire unexpectedly, and obviously that'd be unexpected? How much time do you have, and what is that a change from? And a change, and this new policy until you get it tarped, get it fixed, whatever secured, I think is the term.
Right. So what we did discuss this with the mayor and Jesse, we wanted something to kind of expedite the process after like the December tornadoes. It's taken so long to get any action, and so we kind of rewritten the demolition code here to take in effect for the natural disaster and just a dilapidated building. So if you have a dilapidated building, you literally have 3 months to board it up and 6 months if it's a natural disaster to keep it going. Now, if you're building, and just say you're building a new home and for some reason you stop building, and it could be a natural disaster if the funding went dry. We also have put in that place the same wording as you have 3 months and 6 months to rectify or fix, demolish, or board up the structure. But literally, the code, the way it's written, the people have up to 2 years to have it boarded up and have it in that state of disrepair, I guess you would say, for up to 2 years. And we've decided that 2 years is too long, and we made it 1 year. So that's really the biggest major change to that code is we reduced it to 1 year to help expedite, clean up the city.
I'm really pleased with that change. I think that will be really helpful moving forward. And since you're never here, I just want to tell you that I only contact your department when I have complaints. And I'm sorry for
That's
that.
fine.
But
That's why we're here.
But I so appreciate the fairness that you go about your job and that all the people in your department do. And thank you so much for
I
that.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, Greg also does inspections as well as running the department. We appreciate that. So, thank you, Alderman Collins. Alderman Martin.
I also love the 1-year change. I like including or codifying our mutual aid agreement that we all passed not too long ago. And I just appreciate what you do for the city.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other discussion? Alderman Sassy.
I know I'm jumping ahead right now, but I just wanted to say thank you for always looking for ways to make your department more efficient.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All those in favor of first reading ordinance 2025-03, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next, we have first reading ordinance 2024-04. This is an ordinance amending the Hendersonville Municipal Code, Title 12, to adopt a revised edition of the Building and Maintenance Codes. We have a motion from Alderman Sassy, a second from Alderman Collins. All those in favor of first reading ordinance 2025-04, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Next, we have first reading ordinance 2025-05. This is an ordinance amending the Hendersonville Municipal Code, Title 13, to adopt a revised edition of the International Property Maintenance Code. We have a motion from Alderman Sassy and a second from Alderman Garza. Just to let you all know, since all three of these look like they're going to pass unanimously, I'm going to place them on the consent agenda 2 weeks from now. Alderman Robertson.
So who is subject to, under city court, a $50 plus court costs fine?
Is it you or is it Greg?
Who's,
We're on the third one. We're on
am I one ahead? I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Withdraw the question.
Okay. All those in favor of resolution all those in favor of ordinance 2025-05, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you all. Now we're on to first reading ordinance 2025-06. This is an ordinance to amend Hendersonville Municipal Code Title 9 regarding businesses, peddlers, solicitors, et cetera, relative to shopping carts. Alderman Evans, do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion.
Oh, okay. Alderman Garza, do you want to second that? Also, Alderman Garza sent me an email, and he asked if he could be a co-sponsor of this without objection. We're going to do that. But I do want to let you know that we have had some questions come up from our police chief about this, about the logistics of enforcing this. So we welcome discussion about this, but I think probably before we vote on it, I think one of our sponsors are going to make a motion to defer this. But I think it's definitely worthwhile to have some discussion. Alderman Evans.
Well, I'll come back to this in just a few minutes, but I did do some research on this and looked at some other cities who have this type thing, and I realized that we probably don't have an issue as far as shopping carts are concerned here, but I was in the general committee meeting and I heard the comments about, I don't know what you call it, I call it double jeopardy, but giving an impound fee to the businesses, and I'm not in favor of that. So I'd made some suggestions and passed it along to Mayor Clary and also to Attorney Ray, and just said that maybe we might consider that it may assess a fee of $50, but then the retail establishment shall be notified of the impoundment and shall have the right to retrieve the impounded shopping cart free of fee if retrieved within 30 days of notice, and if after 30 days and up to 60 days, and there may be a fee. And then after that, I just maybe put in there about after 6 days, and then the shopping cart will be disposed of. So I added some thoughts in there, but I probably feel like that we probably need to work this a little bit more just to get it exactly right.
Thank you, Alderman Evans. Alderman Dixon.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I was running the general committee when I brought this up, that I felt like that the business owner was getting a fee charged to them, but yet they were the ones that were being receiving the theft. So someone was stealing from them, but yet then they get the penalty for having to go retrieve their own cart and pay a penalty for it. So I feel like that has not been thought out well, and I appreciate Alderman Evans giving that some thought and making those recommendations, and I hope that maybe we can pull this if we've got other issues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Dixon. Alderman Bergdorf.
Thank you, Mayor, appreciate that. Regarding this, this is not new. The other places across the nation have done this. One in particular was an article on it in Louisiana, I think, said that they had an issue with shopping carts. But why are we bringing this up is a general question. And then the second piece is, who are the retail establishments that are wanting this? I mean, that's a public we serve, it's a community we serve, and we're talking about trying to improve businesses in the area and relationship with business in the area. Seems almost detrimental or not necessarily conducive to police work, not police work, good business sense. Not alone, our police have enough to do as it is, I think. But nevertheless, that's neither here nor there. I'll be willing to ask these questions another time, or answer these questions another time, if you want to go ahead and defer it, because I understand that that's what you're looking toward. Is that correct?
So, yeah, we're going to make a motion to defer, but I'm happy to answer the question.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So, yeah. So, in talking with other mayors, I go to a couple conferences, well, pretty much just one conference once a year, and then talk to other mayors in Middle Tennessee. But one of the conferences is national mayors, and we talk about some of the problems and some of the issues we see that we have in common. We have definitely had a handful of people pushing grocery carts across the city, and I think it's a pretty accurate guess that they don't own that grocery cart. And seen them going through Drakes Creek Park. I had to call the police on one there last fall. Had one going down Gallatin Road. It was probably about November-ish or so. I've noticed, there were two just shopping carts without anybody attached to them at Mansker Creek, probably back last summer. I asked Trace to go and pick those up. And I think it goes back to that the people who were pushing those shopping carts or took those shopping carts there did not own those shopping carts. So I have not heard from retailers, grocery stores, or other retailers about a problem with their shopping carts. I think it is pretty rare, but it's still a problem. And I think that, just like we would respond to seeing somebody break into a house or breaking into a car, right now we have no mechanism to respond really to somebody who's pushing a shopping cart. We don't really have that option. Another problem is that the way that we currently would deal with that situation is that we would expect the manager or owner of the retailer where the shopping cart came from to go to court. And they're not, we've never found a time they're willing to do that. And so that we need to put that in a situation where we can prosecute that instead of expecting them to go to court. This is not a perfect ordinance. I think it moves in the right direction, but again, we need to look at some of the logistics. Alderman Bergdorf, did I address all your questions?
For the most part, yes, sir.
Okay. Was there something I missed? Or?
No, I think you covered most of them, but I still have nagging questions in my head as to, I don't see this as necessary, but that's okay. Maybe with the next incarnation of it, we will.
Okay, I appreciate that. And I have a little bit more to say on this, but we'll go to Alderman Goodwin. Thank you, Alderman Bergdorf.
I just had a quick question. Someone brought to my attention, what about when we have like the Freedom Festival and the parades and people are pushing a cart, selling their stuff? Would that apply to this as well?
If it's their shopping cart, did not come from a local retailer, they would be okay. So, Alderman Martin.
Sounds like we're going to pull this, but I just wanted to share my thoughts. I like this policy. This is something to have into place for the city to have a tool if there is a problem. So if there's one or two instances of a shopping cart making its way far away, you don't have to find them. You can work it out. However, if it becomes a problem and a nuisance, the city has a vehicle to take care of it. If it is a nuisance and it becomes a problem for the city, this is something that we can use to make the retailer install those locks where if the cart leaves the parking lot, it locks, and so we don't have them walking off. So whenever you guys talk about it, kind of bake that into the equation.
It's interesting. Appreciate that. Alderman Evans, would you like to make a motion to defer this for, well, I don't know.
I was just going to say, I'd like to defer it, table it, whatever we want to call it, indefinitely, and let
Okay.
Attorney Ray and you and myself.
So I think
work
a
through
motion
this.
to table is probably best, because then you could make a motion to bring it off the table sometime in the
Yes.
future. We will continue to list it on the agenda as an item that's been tabled.
Okay.
Okay, Alderman Evans has a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second from Alderman Garza. All those in favor of tabling this, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Next, we're on to ordinance, first reading of ordinance 2025-07. This is an ordinance to amend Hendersonville Municipal Code Title IX, business, peddlers, solicitors, et cetera, relative to panhandling. Alderman Evans and Garza, do you want to make a motion in a second?
I'll move yes.
Okay, and Alderman Garza also asked me by email earlier this week to be a co-sponsor, so without objection, we're going to do that. This is one that didn't have, that Chief Jones weighed in on also. I didn't see the issues as significantly high on this one as I did with the shopping carts, but I still think that there are some issues to work through as far as the enforcement, and that we're going to ask to do the same thing on this one. Alderman Evans, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, just a couple of thoughts here, because when I first read this too, I was confusing panhandling with charitable contribution solicitation and also with peddlers. But I also know when we went back through the Title IX, Chapter 1, that's the section that talks about the permit for peddlers or solicitors. And then Chapter 2 talks about charitable solicitors having the permit and all that. So this is different. This is talking about panhandling people who are asking people for money for their own purposes, not for an organization or anything like that. But I'd love to hear the other conversation, questions, anything before we make a final decision on this.
Alderman Evans, thank you. Alderman Bergdorf.
Oh, hey, thank you. I apologize. This is not going to affect, like Alderman Evans was talking about, it's not going to affect those that are soliciting for charitable organizations, meaning Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts.
We want to make sure that that's the case.
Okay,
Right.
thank you. All right, good.
Yeah.
That was the only question I had, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Bergdorf. Alderman Martin.
I also like this ordinance, even though we may or may not read it now. This topic is highly debated, I think, at a higher level, at the state level and stuff. And so if there's legislation that's passed down that would prevent us from instituting it, if you already have it in the books, you'll have a much better way to control it.
Alderman Martin, thank you. Alderman Robertson.
Yes,
This might be you.
on page 86 of the proposed rules changes, I'd like to see when you and Alderman Evans reconsiders this, greater than 20 feet from an automatic teller machine or financial institution. I mean, 20 feet is not far, and if I'm there getting money out of a ATM, you know, I'd like to see at least 50 feet. So I don't know if there's any legal reasons why we pick 20 other than, but I'd like to see that possibly extended to at least 50 feet. That would be a personal privacy concern. A person getting out money and somebody 20 feet wanting money, you know, so.
Yeah, I believe 20 feet was just an arbitrary number, so you would be well within
Yeah, if
your
the
rights to
sponsors
change
will-
that.
If the sponsors will consider that, thank you.
Okay. Alderman Robertson, thank you. Alderman Collins.
I'm just going to read some of this. Blocking the passage of the individual solicited, otherwise engaging in conduct that could reasonably be construed as intending to compel or force a person to accede to solicitation, acting with the intent to intimidate someone into giving money, or other conduct that a reasonable person being solicited would regard as threatening or intimidating in order to solicit a contribution or donation. So I think that donation term is what maybe caused some confusion. But are those things something that our police cannot press charges against now?
I don't,
Chief Johnson's shaking his head no.
I don't think there's any law prohibiting that as As we have it on the books now, no, I can't think of any.
Well, there needs to be. I think that probably,
Chief Jones can probably help us a little bit.
okay.
Shaking his head yes.
Sure, please.
Oh.
I tried. So, and I may misunderstand, but relative to aggressive behavior now, not specifically related to panhandling or soliciting a donation, but aggressive or intimidating behavior, we can address that now.
For example,
Through state law, but I mean specific to this. So if you look at that ordinance, the reason it was specifically written to address aggressive panhandling is it kind of spells it out.
so if,
Makes it a little easier under a city ordinance to do it that way.
for example, if I am buying gas and I run into the gas station, I'm coming back out, or I've been to the ATM and I'm walking back to my car, it's a pedestrian ATM, which I never do, but let's say I do, then somebody is kind of blocking my path to my vehicle, what can you do?
It would probably fall under disorderly conduct, or it could be considered assault, depending on the circumstances. Now, this just cleans it up to be handled through city ordinance, where it's very easy for an officer to write a citation, because the way that would work now is it'd have to go through state court, not city court, for that type of behavior.
Well, thank you for that. And I think most of us, or I hate to say it like this, but certainly the females amongst us have probably experienced many of these behaviors at one point or another. Never in Hendersonville, thank you, HPD. But these things should be something that you, as a police department, can act upon. I know you're not going to get the call. I'm not calling you over that. Once I've made it back to my car, I'm done.
You'd be surprised.
But if somebody's hanging out and they do it to multiple people, you need to be able to get them out of there. So I am very happy to see this ordinance, and I'm definitely planning to support it. Thank you.
Alderman Collins, thank you. Alderman Sassy.
Chief, don't go anywhere.
I tried. Good try, though.
I saw you running away. I just wanted a point of clarification. Are you saying that if a suspect blocks the path and is intimidating another person, basically, that would be considered assault, is that right? It can be assault or intimidation. Yeah. But it has to go through state court. At the city, it cannot go through city court, it has to go through state court? It has to go through state court for those charges, because we don't have a specific city ordinance that actually addresses that. We don't have a city ordinance? We do, we do have where we've adopted a lot of the state statutes, but our officers are not gonna charge that through city court, they're gonna go through state court on that. We don't have an ordinance for assault, or? Well, where we've adopted state statutes, we could, but assault is a penalty that can incur jail time. So offenses that generally can incur jail time do not come through city court. They go through state court, because obviously we don't run the jails. Okay, so remind me, thank you, Chief, that's all the questions I have for you. What's the penalty for this, as it states in 6? It's a $50
fine.
$50 fine, right?
Mm-hmm. That's not much.
That's not much of a deterrent.
It's the maximum deterrent that we can constitutionally
So
assess.
instead, is it possible, well, I guess the state defines what assault is that correct?
Yes.
How would we spell, that picture right there is crooked, just FYI.
Driving you nuts?
It's driving me nuts right now. Someone, please fix that. Can we get a clear definition or clear understanding of what the difference between each of these is? Because I feel like from what this is stating as an aggressive panhandling, in my mind, constitutes assault or as the chief said, intimidation. And I don't see much of a difference, and I would rather them be charged with one of those, which could incur jail time, which is more corrective than a $50 fine.
Well, the standard of proof, to prove someone of guilty of assault or disorderly conduct, and correct me if I'm wrong, Judge,
Thank you for being here.
it's higher in criminal court than it would be for a civil fine. It's beyond a reasonable doubt, and it's to prove imminent fear or
Offensive.
imminent bodily harm may be harder to do than just aggressive panhandling, which would be a fine. And if it's either of those, a police officer could charge both, or just charge the assault. Now they have two different options, if this were to pass.
So it's up to the arresting officer to decide which one, or okay. I think that's all the questions I have right now. Thanks.
Alderman Sassy, thank you. Alderman Collins, thank you. Alderman Evans.
I was going to let Alderman Robertson speak and others speak, and then I'm going to make a motion about this.
Okay, Alderman Robertson.
So, Lance, does this, if we made this a city ordinance, and I support it, if it goes before the city judge and there's evidence that it's more severe, can the city judge refer this to general sessions or to state? Or I know the police officer has that discretion on whether to apply the ordinance, city ordinance, which is a $50 fine, or state violation. But I'm just wondering, does the city judge have that discretion to bump it up, hear the case and said, I believe this reaches a higher level and refer it to general sessions?
No, but the police department could, or it could be a referral by the city to the district attorney's office to present it.
The reason I support, I'd like to have as many tools in the toolbox to deal with this.
Yeah.
And, there may be some that it's appropriate for the city judge to deal with and not go to general sessions court. So, thank you, that's all.
Alderman Robertson, thank you. Do you want to hear from Russ on this? Okay. Alderman Evans.
Mayor, I'd like to table this one as well, just to take into consideration some of the things that have been shared and to bring it back to Beaumont.
Okay, Alderman Garza? I'm okay with that. So we're going to motion in a second. All those in favor of tabling this, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next, we're on the first reading ordinance 2025-08. This is an ordinance to amend Hendersonville Municipal Code Title 12 regarding building utilities, etc., codes relative to registration of vacant commercial and industrial buildings. Alderman Collins, would you like to make a motion? Alderman Evans, a second? Appreciate that. Alderman Collins or Alderman Evans, would you like to speak first? Alderman Evans.
I'll speak first. First of all, just thank you, Mayor, for noting that, that this is Chapter 15 instead of Chapter 13. And you all received an email from Greg Yandell, he owns Ace Hardware, and we all know that there are pockets within the city that this really is affecting, and so I'd like to see that we pass this. It keeps the areas as nice as possible for those still operating businesses in the areas, and then also for those who are homeowners. So I think this is a very good ordinance, and I'd like to see it passed.
Appreciate that, Alderman Evans. And you referred to Chapter 13. We need to make fix, make a replacement where it says Section 1 on page 92. Instead of Chapter 13, that should say Chapter 15. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
What was the other item that we needed to fix? There were two on this one, wasn't there?
I think it's the next one where it says 2025-07 for the decorative sign.
Okay. So the only one that we need to fix on this one is the one you just mentioned? Yes. Okay. We've got three people wish to speak. Can we take care of this technical item real quick first? Okay. So we have a motion from Alderman Evans and a second from Alderman Sassy to replace 13 with 15 on page 92 under Section 1. Do we have any discussion on that? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Alderman Sassy.
Thank you, Mayor. I would humbly like to ask to be added as a sponsor for this.
Without objection, we're going to add Alderman Sassy as a sponsor. Thank you. Alderman Ward.
I think it's a good ordinance. I personally lean more towards condemning them and doing something with it, because the number of buildings we're talking about in Hendersonville is a small handful of people of buildings that have been vacant for a long time. And some of the time frames in this, I have a 10,000 square foot warehouse. If you talk to anybody in the real estate industries, they'll tell you it takes 6 months to lease a building that size. But I have to register as a vacant building in 30 days.
Okay.
And it'll take me a month and a half to clean up after the last tenant. And I think that should be 1 year, because if it takes me a couple of months to clean up, 6 months to list it, that gives me a little bit of leeway in actually getting it leased, instead of me having to pay the registration fee, lease the building, and come back and get a refund for the registration fee.
Alderman Ward, since this is first reading, do you want to work with our city attorney to come up with an amendment before we get to
Do
second?
what?
Do you want to work with our city attorney to come up with an amendment before second reading? I think what
Sure.
you're saying is reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. And again, I think I've made this clear that we're not interested in money. We're interested in getting these properties cleaned up or rented out. So yeah, so I think what you're asking is reasonable. So, okay. Anything else on this?
No, that's it.
Okay, appreciate that. Alderman Bergdorf.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I appreciate, this has been a very good evening, a very productive evening. I think that we've had very good discussions. We've been talking about different tools in our toolbox to be able to improve the city. I appreciate the efforts all across the board, and I want to go ahead and throw my support behind this. But, again, with Alderman Ward's recommendations. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Alderman Bergdorf. Okay, Alderman Collins.
On page.
Oh, thank you, Alderman Bergdorf. Go ahead.
On page 97, number 3, says the initial registration fee may be waived for up to 12 months for the time a building is required to be registered if a building is being actively marketed for sale or lease. So should we just change that to will? And then does that cover it? Alderman Ward?
Can you say the what?
On page 97, number 3, that first sentence of the paragraph there, it says, the initial registration fee may be waived for up to 12 months from the time a building is required to be registered if a building is being actively marketed for sale or lease.
I think that would be
change
great if you
it
took
to
out
will,
may.
if we just change it to it will be waived for 12 months instead of up to.
Yeah, that's acceptable.
12 months is too much or an adequate amount of time in your opinion?
12 months is, let me say this too, about 10,000 square foot building. And the thing to consider is the larger the building, the longer it takes to lease it. Okay, so it's going to be easy to lease or rent a 2-bedroom duplex in Hendersonville. 10,000 square foot building, it takes a little more time. And you take someplace like, I don't know, MGM or bigger buildings here, even like Aladdin, it's going to take longer to lease that, because I know Aladdin sat vacant for many years.
If you're comfortable with it, I'd like to go ahead and offer that as an amendment and get that done tonight, if that's okay.
I'm comfortable with that.
Okay.
So can you say that again, Alderman Collins?
Okay. It's on, let me see if I can tell you what it is. D3. On D3, if we change the first sentence by striking the word may and change it to will, and then just remove up to and just have it say for 12 months.
Oh. Alderman Ward, do you second that?
Yes, that is good. Yes.
Okay. Alderman Sassy, I saw you hit your button there. Do you want to discuss this amendment or? Okay, go ahead.
Just want to make a point of clarification. On that same section, it actually says the Planning Commission could actually extend that for another 12 months as well. So it could be up to 24 months that you'd get that extension. But that one also says may, and I think it should stay as a may on that section.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Any concerns? Nope. Okay, so let's vote on the amendment first. We have a motion second. So Alderman Collins, Alderman Ward. Any clarification needed for what we're voting on? Okay. All those in favor of the motion on the amendment, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we're back on the main motion. So at this point, we have two amendments. One was more clerical. The second one was the one we just dealt with granting 12 months for something that just becomes vacant. Instead of may, it will be will, that we really don't require it for 12 months. Any other discussion on this? I'm thinking we don't need a electronic vote, so I'm going to say all those in favor of first reading of ordinance 2025-08 as amended twice, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you all. If you see something else between now and the next 2 weeks, please let us know. So, let's go to Resolution 2025-07. This is a resolution to adopt a decorative street sign replacement grant program. Alderman Evans, would you like to make a motion?
2025-09, because we already have a 25-25-7. That was the panhandling.
Oh, really? Okay.
Eagle eye, yeah.
He's used to looking at numbers.
Oh, one was an ordinance, one was a resolution.
Is that what it is? Okay. Oh, it sure is. Okay, thank you.
Oh, so it's correct as it is?
Okay.
I'm still impressed. So we have a motion from Alderman Evans. Do we have a second from Alderman Garza? Yes. Okay. So, Alderman Evans, do you want to speak on this?
Yeah, I think that when you think about our city, that a lot of the subdivisions now are putting up these street signs that are beyond what would be normal that we would put up in our city. And so places like a Durham Farms or Autumn Creek or whatever, they're decorative type signs where they have their iron or there are different types of signs. If those fade or they get lost or torn down or whatever, normally the city would replace those with the green type signs. They wouldn't be the decorative type signs. So what we're hoping to do here is if that HOA or if that neighborhood wants to continue using the decorative street signs, that the way I understand this is that the city would reimburse them the amount equal to the replacement that we would normally do. In other words, the amount that the green signs would cost, letting them then replace it on their own dime for those decorative signs.
Alderman Evans, thank you. Alderman Sassy.
I just had a question for you, Mayor. Would it be prudent or acceptable to add to this that stipulation, since we're instructing the staff on implementing this program, if it would be acceptable to add something here like what Alderman Edmonds just mentioned, is that the amount would be up to what would normally cost for that street sign to the city for a standard street sign? Because I don't want us paying paying above that.
I feel like that's in there, to be honest with you.
It is in there?
Yeah.
Because I did not see it in there. Maybe I must have missed it.
Look at physical impact on page 111.
Well, that's the staff report. That does not. 114. Perfect. Thank you for finding that.
Thank you, Alderman Sassy. Alderman Collins.
I have a question for Mr. Ray. Somebody told me that because we've accepted the streets with that kind of sign, when we accept the dedication of streets, that we're then obligated to replace it with this same type of sign, only ADA compliant. Is that accurate?
I don't believe it is, and our
okay.
Director of Public Works is also nodding that it's not.
Okay. Somebody did say that to me, but Alderman Garten and our ward is largely HOA controlled, and they have we've heard no objections to this. In fact, I think they're pretty tickled to think that they might be able to utilize this program. So I'm liking it.
Sarah,
Thank you.
Do you want to add something, might clarify?
Sure, they're considered an amenity, so they're actually under their covenants and restrictions or whatever the official terminology is for that. They are responsible for replacement and maintenance.
Alderman Collins, thank you. Sarah, thank you. Alderman Ward, you might want to stay close by, sir.
Yeah, Sarah, don't go far. Do we know the cost of an existing street sign now?
It varies. It's based on the actual size of the sign, so some with longer names will be more than others. Estimated cost on average would be around $50 to $75 for the sign. And then if there's this, I can't remember, I'm sorry, does this include the posts, the decorative posts? Okay, so a post that we would typically install would be $100 or less.
Okay. On current ADA, and this may be too big of a question for this setting, but are the current ADA guidelines on extruded aluminum panels, or do they say? And I'm assuming it's engineering grade reflective?
Yeah, so typically we would install a high-intensity grade reflectivity, and that's what's covered under MUTCD and is considered acceptable on extruded aluminum.
And so if a sign costs, say, $75, and we had a really long name for a street sign, it would just look awkward. Because it also says in here, it has to meet all the ADA compliance things, which if it's an extruded panel and the high-intensity reflective is not going to look like anything that's there.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we have been installing the new MUTCD that came out, I believe it was just a year or two ago, did update the size requirements and the lettering requirements, and so we have been installing some of them, and some of them are large, and some of them don't fit on the current decorative posts, so that has been a concern in some of the HOA neighborhoods. So that's just something that we would have to work through. We have made some allowances for replacements in like Stony Brook. They paid for it, but we coordinated with them to make sure that they were reflective and met most of the requirements without replacing their posts. But they paid for the signs.
So the subdivision, I would assume the subdivision is grandfathered in with their existing street signs and they can maintain them at their own cost. But if they're going to take advantage of this program, they'd have to meet the city standards.
That is how we operate now,
Okay.
yes. Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Alderman Ward, who knows a little bit about signs. Alderman Bergdorf.
Well, my questions are nowhere near as in-depth and detailed as Brother Ward's are. My question is pertaining to the ordinance itself, and knowing that this is my ward, Ward 1, is an older neighborhood. We do not have HOAs. We do not have neighborhood organizations besides Uncle Joey that lives down the street. How will this program be applicable to our neighborhood in Ward 1? Will the residents of Rebecca, Luna, Gaytone, Volco be able to take advantage of this opportunity?
I would have to defer to the mayor a little bit on that because I believe that he coordinated this
They'll get
legislation.
Yeah, they'll get the same service they get now, and they won't pay for somebody to get a decorative sign. They're going to get the same service they do now if, what's the two subdivisions down in Walton Ferry that have?
Chesapeake
and Windstar Bay. They could take advantage of it. But again, we're not paying for more than anything that we're doing right now.
So no new signs for the old parts?
No, new signs, yes.
No decorative signs,
No
pardon me.
decorative signs. Now,
Right.
if we want, okay, so now you're going a different place, which I like where you're going.
Okay.
So, we have talked about some places in Westlake
Okay, good.
that we really need to do something for.
Okay.
And maybe some sort of logo or emblem. I told y'all he went to a place I wanted to talk about. Maybe a nice logo or emblem and street poles and some sort of insignia that says this is Westlake.
You get me.
So
This is scary.
yeah, it is
Okay,
scary.
yeah.
But that's something that is we're going to talk about next.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So, yeah,
Thank you,
absolutely.
Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Skidmore.
Yes, thank you. Just a quick couple of questions. So, let's say like the area in Westlake or the older section of town, and that we put the new signs in that are not the green, but they're like black and white or a different one. If you wanted to put one with the yellow and brown or something like that, just whatever, put that in. The city pays the city pays for that? Is that what you're saying?
Based on the legislation that's presented tonight, it would be a replacement grant program where they would be reimbursed for decorative signs. They would still have to coordinate with Public Works because there are still specific requirements that must be applied through the MUTCD, and there are only certain colors, even if you have an area where you designate a decorative sign that's a different color than the standard green, there are still restrictions on that, so.
Right, well,
Yes.
okay, all right, I thank you for, and my follow-up with that is because we have some, in our ward, we have some that are the black and white, and real, I'm old school, I'm not fancy schmancy like some of our folks are, or our subdivisions, which I'm proud of them. But it just seems like that would be kind of discriminatory on some sections of our ward when they may or may not have the reimbursement opportunity for that sign, but yet somebody else, you know, down the road, they're getting a sign. And I know that might sound immaterial at this time, but it just seems like, hey, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, you know? I mean, if they're, and I'm not addressing it to you, I'm just addressing it to the board about that.
Oh, I agree, Alderman Skidmore, so you're fine.
Well, thank you. So it is kind of hard for me to say that I agree with that because there are some sections of town, and Alderman Bergdorf and I represent basically probably the oldest homes in town. Yeah, we're the OGs. We're the OGs. Yeah, so of Hendersonville, and so it kind of. I'm not saying it's a slap in the face to the OGs or the old people or the older homes in Hendersonville, but the older streets. It just seems like that there's a discrepancy there. And I like the green. I mean, our green signs are fine, but we were just sitting over here saying, hey, you know, we were talking about, you know, over where we live. I mean, it would look sharp where we live. The black and white signs on there, you know, that hang. The ones like that Bell Mead has, or some of these, and they would look good, you know, because we have a lot of acre lots over there, Cumberland Shores, and even, you know, the streets off the main street of Walton Ferry and Saunders Ferry Road. So I don't know, and if they have to pay for that, and these other guys are not paying for it, it just seems like it's discriminatory. I know it's just a sign. But I want our ward to look just as good as somebody else's ward. No disrespect to the city of Hendersonville, but we're proud of our ward.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, I really am. I mean, I've lived there most of my life, and I know a lot of folks over there, just as like you guys know, but in your respective wards. But hey, I think it's just as good for us, you know, that happens. So I don't know how to address that. I mean, is there a process that we can do to address it?
I may say one thing as far as the grantees not having to pay for their signs, there likely would still be a portion that they would be responsible for privately, because our pricing is based on the standard green, and we order those in bulk, and that's why we get good pricing.
Right, I know
and
that.
so they're most likely ordering from local vendors and much smaller quantity and a specialty color, so their pricing is probably much higher.
Right.
So there is a portion that they're covering privately. So that's just my input on that. As far as expanding the program to include other areas where there are no HOAs or property owner organizations, the mayor may have some input on his vision for that, but.
You'll be hearing from me soon. I was thinking this is more probably something after budget. Maybe it's something before budget. Yeah, I appreciate y'all's thoughts on this.
All right, well, thank you.
I think the logo will probably be a pole with the street sign on top of the pole. It will say OG. So yeah. Alderman Robertson.
I mean, we're already doing some of this, aren't we? In Autumn Creek, I recall when I was on the HOA board, we had some stop signs that were faded, and the city came out and replaced those in our decorative frames.
Yes, with standard signs, yes.
So you're, it seemed like to me, though, we haven't talked about, on these street signs, there are also the names of the streets. And if they're faded or go out, are we going to reimburse partially an HOA for putting up the new decorative street signs?
My understanding is that we would reimburse what it would cost for us to replace them with our standard green.
Okay, so we know the stop sign is, how much did you say, 100 and?
I cannot remember the price for the stop signs offhand. Probably around $100 for a stop sign.
Okay, and then the post is about 100, you said.
Yes.
And how much are the signs, the decorative signs of the streets? You know, autumn, smoke rise and whatever.
I'm not certain of what the cost is for the decorative because we don't purchase those. But as far as the actual street sign that fits on a decorative, or that we would install on a decorative post, that's our standard green. That price depends on the size, but it ranges anywhere between $50 and $75 for each sign.
Okay, so I understand the concern that we not only deal with HOAs, but every community that wants decorative signs. So if there was a street in the city that was not part of an HOA, and the residents got together and said, we want to put decorative signs on our streets, would they fall under this ordinance, do you believe?
I believe that could be open for some interpretation. I personally would say yes, but I would defer to the mayor if I'm incorrect in stating that. But for our traffic calming policy, that is how we interpret it. If
Yeah.
there's a group, even if there is no HOA.
That, if we can agree to that,
Yeah.
then that takes away, I think, the discriminatory aspect of it. So if any community, you know, or a street wants to fund, you know, private, decorative signs, the city would reimburse them just like they would reimburse an HOA. You follow me? So there would be no discriminatory treatment.
It
That
wasn't-
an older community or an HOA community would get the same treatment.
So, do y'all want to throw some ideas back and forth and come back in 2 weeks on this? Or do y'all want to hash? I see four heads shaking yes over there.
Well, I think that the present ordinance, I mean, I think it does cover it. And if it, in the first whereas, now it's not in the resolve, but it says, to neighborhood organizations. So if a street in the older parts of the city gets together, they could be defined as a neighborhood organization.
That was not my intent, but I think you're correct.
I mean, I understand Alderman Skidmore's concerns, you know, and so, I mean, when I bought my house, part of the purchase of that house was the decorative street signs. And so that was part of my cost that I agreed to pay. So if a neighborhood or a street wants to do it, I would like for it to be able to apply across the board to HOA or a loosely defined neighborhood organization.
So our city attorney has said that he agrees with you that would apply in this situation. And I still would like to have something specific for Westlake that we'll work on another time.
Did you say the city attorney agreed with me?
He did.
I'd like that to be put on the record, that I have an agreement. Thank you, Mayor. That's all.
Do you want to correct what I said, or?
No, just you're good.
Okay. Alderman Sassy.
Thank you, Mayor. Could we do a decorative street sign impact fee? I would love to see that come before us, yeah.
He's already left.
Okay.
Lost
Yeah,
last
dang
night.
it.
Too late.
Dang it.
Too late. Thank you, Alderman Sassy.
Well,
Alderman
hold
Ward.
on,
Oh, sorry, go
I
ahead.
did actually have a legitimate question. So, we're contributing to the cost that it would be for a standard sign, but the HOA or homeowner organization would use that money to purchase an upgraded sign, I guess, or a different type of sign they wanted in their neighborhood, but so the city would not be paying any more out of pocket than they normally would, right?
Right.
That's correct.
Great. So, but who installs it? Would they organize the installation, or would we still install that post and sign?
The way it's written is that they would manage all of it, and then they would submit for reimbursement to the city.
And they already do that today, right? If
Well,
that's necessary.
we don't reimburse, no. If
No,
they're-
but I mean, they replace their own posts and signs today.
Yes, for decorative, that's correct.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Sassy. Alderman Ward.
So who determines if it needs to be replaced or not? Do you have people, is it driven by citizen comment, or do you have somebody that surveys street signs?
It's the hardest part of this thing.
Both. We've been surveying our street signs and collecting asset management information so that we can prioritize funding. That's something we started this year. But also, previously, they were heavily driven upon complaints. Additionally, when we're paving an area now, we are working toward replacing any street sign that needs to be replaced at that time. So if it doesn't meet minimum reflectivity, that's generally the main requirement for determining replacement. But
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Alderman Ward. Thank you, Sarah. Any other discussion? Alderman Bergdorf.
Thank you. Who manages the grant program, and where do we get this funding? Is it the city of Hendersonville that does it?
It's money that's in our current budget because we're going to replace.
It says grant, pole replacement grant program.
So-
So it's just built into our funds?
So we have, how much money do we have for sign replacement, Sarah? Is it within, it's not just street signs though, is it?
It's street signs and mast arm signage,
Okay.
things like that. It's roughly 25,000, about 25,000.
And this is just something that the city has generated, this grant program, something that the city's come up with?
Yes, that we're starting, and again, it'd be reimbursable. It would be something, it wouldn't be a grant.
So it'd be
ahead of time.
reimbursable for the service as well as installation, is what I was
No,
hearing.
we're not doing installation, not installation.
You're not doing installation, but it'd be reimbursable installation, did you not say that?
No.
Oh, so no
No.
reimbursable for installation,
If-
just for the sign?
If we were to replace it with one of our signs, it would cost us $70. Whatever they want to do with their decorative sign, that's up to them, and to install it, then we will give them $70.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, appreciate that. Any other discussion? All those in favor of Resolution 2025-07, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Oh, do we have a no? We have a no from Alderman Bergdorf, and no from Alderman Bergdorf and Alderman Skidmore. Anybody else? So that passes with a majority vote. You good? Okay. Next, we have Resolution 2025-11. This is a resolution approving and establishing policy for certain secondary employment for the Hendersonville Fire Department employees. I so move. And we have a second from Alderman Martin. Any discussion? I know we talked about this in two committees. All those in favor of Resolution 2025-11, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Next, we have Resolution 2025-13, a resolution inviting the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System to hold an information session for public safety personnel on the Bridge State Retirement Plan and establishing a voting surveying process to gauge consensus. Alderman Sassy? We have a motion from Alderman Sassy and a second from Alderman Garza. Alderman Sassy, do you want to speak on this?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so as you know, the city is hiring an outside consultant to review this program. This actually is a TCRS representative coming and speaking to our public safety officers and letting them, so they can better understand the program. Everyone here is also invited to it. So we can all better understand it as well. Still hasn't, the date and time still hasn't been determined yet until this passes, but as soon as it does, everyone's going to be invited to have the TCRS representative who's going to be presenting it to our public safety so they can understand it, and then they can give their anonymous opinion on whether they want this as part of their compensation package. That's it.
Alderman Sassy, thank you. Alderman Bergdorf.
Thank you, Mayor. If it, may I be a co-sponsor? Thank you.
Without objection, we're going to add Alderman Bergdorf's name. Alderman Martin.
I'd like to be a co-sponsor too.
Without objection, we're going to add Alderman Martin's name.
Mayor.
And without objection, we're going to add Alderman Skidmore's name.
Thank you.
Without objection, we're going to add Alderman Evans' name and Alderman Collins' name.
Let's make it unanimous.
Alderman Robertson, do you have other comments?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was wondering, the sponsor on this, does it make sense to have two sessions with TCRS, one with the fire department and one with the police department, so that a smaller group might allow for more questions and more dialogue? And the needs may be different between the fire and police. Does it make sense to have two different meetings? That's just a question.
Well, actually, I like where you're going with that. However, I don't think it makes sense to separate the two departments, because it's going to be basically this. Yes, they're going to have different questions to it, but it's essentially the same information. However, we've got different shifts. And so if we're having two different sessions, one on each shift, it makes it more available to the staff. So I like that aspect of it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anywhere in here to say it's going to be one session, so we could have two sessions. I guess it really depends on TCR, the representative's availability.
Okay. Thank you, Alderman Sassy. Alderman Robertson, anything else? Thank you. Alderman Collins.
Mr. Eckenroth, for some reason in my recollection of our conversation, you had said that you were thinking we would have two sessions. Is that accurate, or am I?
I think two sessions would be helpful, and we'd probably record it as well.
Okay.
Because based on shifts, not everyone could come.
Yes. I do want to specify that I agree with Alderman Sassy. I don't know if you heard that, Jeff.
Jeff, she agreed with you.
I'm agreeing with you, and I want you to take notice of that. But I do agree that I don't think dividing police and fire is good for a lot of reasons. We don't want to encourage that division. So just whenever they can come, they can come. But I like the idea of two sessions. Thank you.
Alderman Collins, thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor of Resolution 2025-13, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Okay. Next, we're on other agenda items. We already disposed of item number 10, and then we have consideration of BOMA summer schedule. I bring this up because we will have at least 5 special meetings in May, and typically we take off some time in, we take off one meeting in June and one meeting in July. This is just one suggestion, is we take off the first meeting in June, since we will have had several meetings the 6 weeks before that. And we still have our second meeting in June, and then we take off the first meeting in July, and then have our second meeting in July. That would mean that we'd be off June 10th and July 8th. Do y'all have a preference, a discussion? Does somebody want to make a motion? Okay, Alderman Goodwin.
To take off the, what'd you say, the second?
The first meeting in June and the first meeting in July, which would be June 10th and July 8th.
Sure, both of those.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second from Alderman Garza. And the reason it's important to do this so soon ahead of time is because it helps us move things along in the pipeline for what's going to come to us, what's also going to come to committees, as well as help staff plan for what their vacation time is and what their time off is. Any other discussion on this? All those. Go ahead, Alderman Skidmore.
Thank you. Could you also email this out just as a reminder that we're going to be off on the 10th of June and July, and off on July 8th?
I'll do it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, any other discussion, any other comments? Any other questions? All those in favor of canceling the Board of Aldermen meeting for June 10th and July 8th, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next, we have brief committee reports. Chairman Sassy, do we have a finance report? We do not. Okay. Okay, Chairman Skidmore, Public Works. No report. Okay.
Schedule because of the impact meeting, impact fee meeting we had.
Okay, thank you both. Jesse, our BOMA report.
Thank you. We have an influential guest here tonight, so I want to have Mr. Chris Gregory come up and introduce himself.
Hardly influential, but I certainly appreciate the compliment from Mr. Eckenroth. My name's Chris Gregory. I'm the new editor of the Hendersonville Standard for Main Street Media. Actually grew up in Hendersonville in some of the OG areas that Mr. Skidmore referred to. Also proud Beach graduates. What he said. But like I said, just wanted to introduce myself and put names with faces, and if there's ever anything we can do that y'all want to see in our paper, or something you like, something you don't like, my virtual door is always open. Feel free to reach out.
Chris, appreciate that.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Well, we like the positive stories, I can tell you that much. Reminder on a couple events. I want to have Casey come up and make some announcements.
Hey, so for starters, on behalf of Kathy Pascal and Beautiful Hendersonville, I want to remind everybody that we have the countywide cleanup that's this Saturday. Of course, they're running the Hendersonville portion. I know we have hundreds of volunteers coming out Saturday. They'll be checking in here at City Hall, and they will be working all around. So we just want to make sure everybody is aware of them on Saturday morning. They'll be wearing their vest and working and cleaning up our city, making it look good. Then I want to talk about the mayor's State of the City. So just so everybody knows, there will be the State of the City presentation at Birdie Bros on Friday, April 11th. Doors will open at 7:30. There's an optional breakfast that can be purchased. The presentation will start shortly after 8. And then the mayor is also giving kind of a business perspective of the State of the City to the chamber on May the 6th. That is something he's traditionally done, and it'll just be a business focus on that. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Casey. Just a quick note, if you were out on Main Street today, you probably saw that Calendar Lane was getting paved today, so great that that got done. We have a whole new section of paving that's going to start next week. So we're putting a cap on things that we milled, and we're going to start some new milling next week. Budget workshops, we will send some reminders out about that, but those will resume after we have standing committee meetings. And then there's still lots of activity in the park. On page 135, you have a list of the events that are still pending for March, so be sure to check that out. And then I just wanted to thank everyone today for attending the impact fee workshop. It was great attendance by BOMA, and I think we were able to get to a pretty good place. So Mr. Bice and I will work on some proposals, and we'll kick them back out to the group soon, so you should see something with us within a few weeks. That concludes my report.
Alderman Robertson, a question for Jesse?
Latest on police vacancies. Do you have any new information on police vacancies?
I do not, but I can send something out, email to the group.
And we do have a campaign going on to fill some positions that Casey and Chief Jones and Chief Ryan have been working on. Okay. Thank you, Jesse. We need to have executive session. I don't think it's going to be more than 5 minutes. It's just the 13 of us and our city attorney. We will be back in here to adjourn. I do not anticipate that we will take any action. Of course, that's up to the 13 of us, but I can't anticipate that we would. So, okay. Okay, we're back on. Alderman Goodwin. We have a motion to adjourn, and we have a second from Alderman Dixon. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. We're adjourned. Thank you all. Have a good night.